Michael Morbius.
Discover who you're meant to be.
The bad guy.
Michael, what have you done?
I was trying to help people. But the cure.
It's a curse.
Michael.
I have powers that can only be described as superhuman. But there's a cost. Now, I face a choice. To hunt and consume blood. Or die.
We all have monsters within us. It's up to us to control it.
What if I can't?
Michael Morbius.
You've been given a gift.
Not exactly.
Time to let go of what you used to be. Discover who you're meant to be.
All our lives we've lived with death. Why shouldn't they know what it feels like for a change? Just accept who you are.
The bad guy.
Morbius.
Holy water? Really?
Yeah. You ever see Lost Boys?
Story of my life.
Welcome back, everyone. This is my new Morbius trailer video. There's a whole bunch of new footage and Easter eggs. We'll break it all down. Lots more Spider-Man references, lots more Michael Keaton Vulture footage, and lots more details about what's actually happening during the film. Speaking of Spider-Man, if you're brand new to the channel, I'm doing a giveaway for the Spider-Man No Way Home Blu-rays they just announced. There's a whole bunch of extra Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Matt Murdock Daredevil footage on it. Maybe we'll get them to release like a 4-hour cut of Spider-Man No Way Home with all that stuff in it. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know how you think they're going to cross Morbius over with the MCU. We just have to hold out a little bit more for some Morbius versus Blade in the MCU. They just introduced Mahershala Ali's Blade during the Eternals post-credit scene with Kit Harington's Black Knight, when they also kind of introduced his Black Knight character in the Ebony Blade.
Sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?
So with any luck, after that new Blade movie comes out, then we'll hear about Morbius versus Blade. Most of the story in this trailer is Morbius being afraid of his powers and different forces in the trailer, like you have Michael Keaton's Vulture character kind of yelling at him in prison to become who he's meant to be. You have Matt Smith's character also yelling at him about becoming who they're meant to be. He becomes a version of Hunger from the comics, but his human name is Milo, they call him during the film. If you didn't see my last Morbius trailer video, I talked a little bit about what's going on with his character. They changed his backstory from the comics. He is playing a version of Hunger who has pretty much the same powers as Morbius, but he's born with the same genetic disorder that Morbius has. This is them together meeting for the first time in the hospital. They become friends, and Morbius renames him Milo. They both grow up to be scientists working for Horizon in this building here. That's also from Marvel Comics. Morbius is the one that finds the cure, but then eventually after he gets his powers and Milo sees what happens to him, Matt Smith's character, he embraces the idea of getting these crazy powers, doesn't really care about feeding on people's blood, so he steals the serum, gives himself the powers, and then just goes on a complete feeding frenzy. Then you have Tyrese's character, Simon Stroud, who is also a comic book character from the Spider-Man comics. The original version of the character is pretty much what you're seeing on screen here. He was a former member of the CIA, the NYPD, who just went around hunting different Spider-Man villains. Eventually, he winds up hunting Morbius, but then they wind up having to team up together to take down a bigger group of crazier vampires. So early prediction, it's a similar path for their relationship in the film. Like, he spends most of this movie interrogating Morbius, trying to arrest him, but then after Matt Smith's character becomes Hunger and goes on this feeding frenzy around New York City, killing a whole bunch of people, they probably wind up teaming up. Because I believe Tyrese said that the contract he signed was for multiple films, so they're trying to turn his character into a bigger thing. The special weapon device that he's wearing on his arm is also supposed to come from this universe's version of Oscorp, which obviously looks like the Andrew Garfield version from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. One of the few things that they did not put in this trailer that we actually know about from the set is the giant Spider-Man reference on the bus. So there's like a scene of the bus in the middle of the day where he's learning about his powers for the first time and everything gets all blurry. On one of the buses, there's a giant Daily Bugle sign with the Tobey Maguire version of the Daily Bugle that says, "Where is Spider-Man?" So it goes way beyond them just showing a version of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man suit and just making a bunch of Spider-Man Easter eggs for the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movies, for the Tom Holland MCU movies, and the Tobey Maguire films. There'll probably also be another J. Jonah Jameson cameo scene where he's yelling about a version of Spider-Man, but we'll see how it goes down, because the version that we saw in the Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene was only after he'd been teleported into the MCU. So if he shows up during the Morbius movie, that also might be the similar situation where we only see him yelling about Spider-Man after he comes to the MCU. But because the logo for the Daily Bugle on this bus is for the Tobey Maguire version, this is probably taking place inside Morbius's universe. It's the same universe that Venom comes from. So regardless, they do have a version of Spider-Man in this universe who at one point or currently wears a costume that looks like Tobey Maguire's costume. But he might not look like Tom Holland underneath the costume. He could look like Tobey Maguire, he could look like Andrew Garfield. Just because they're mixing and matching so many different Easter eggs from so many different Spider-Man movie franchises. Also really cool Daredevil Easter egg here too. When he's learning about his powers really early on, that bus that I talked about where everything gets blurry in the middle of the day, he's standing in front of the Chelsea Square Diner in New York City. That's right here, zoom and enhance on this part of the map of Manhattan, not too far away from Hell's Kitchen. Now, because this is happening inside the universe that Venom comes from, I'm not expecting any huge Daredevil Easter eggs during the film. I don't think they're going to spend a whole bunch of time in Hell's Kitchen or anything like that. But Daredevil did just come back in Spider-Man No Way Home, and there's going to be more Spider-Man No Way Home references during this film. They also just brought Kingpin back during the Hawkeye series. A lot of Hawkeye took place in and around Hell's Kitchen. And we know Morbius will eventually make his way to the MCU, maybe in the post-credit scene. A lot of you also asked, would he go to the MCU if he did not know Spider-Man was Peter Parker? Because that was the whole twist. Venom came to the MCU because a version of Venom from the multiverse, through their hive knowledge, knew a version of Peter Parker was Spider-Man. That was the whole reason they used the hive knowledge name drop across the multiverse.
80 billion light years of hive knowledge across universes would explode your tiny little brain.
The Tom Hardy Venom symbiote was accessing the memories of the Topher Grace Venom symbiote who knew a version of Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and that's why he got teleported to the MCU. There's ways to explain how this version of Morbius, in the universe that Venom comes from, could see someone referencing a version of Peter Parker being a version of Spider-Man. There's a lot of different ways for that to go down. The Wyman sign he crashes through here is a reference to M.C. Wyman, who's a longtime Marvel comic book artist who created a ton of supernatural characters and worked on the Spider-Man comics. They might be using some characters or story that he created in some way for him to get this huge name drop, literally huge because it's a giant sign that he's crashing through. When Michael Keaton's Vulture is also talking to him in the prison here in New York City, telling him to become who he's meant to be, he's actually trying to incite him to break out of prison so that he can use the chaos himself to also escape. Put together another version of the Sinister Six that he's talking about, putting a team together, quote unquote. Sony is also using the Morbius movie to set up a couple other big spin-offs, like there's a big Kraven reference during this, so obviously we have the Kraven movie that's coming next year. When Michael Keaton's Vulture says that he's putting a team together, obviously it's a Sinister Six reference. Jared Leto quite literally referenced the Sinister Six crossing over MCU crossovers in one of the last big trailers.
The film version of Morbius that we're bringing to you now, he's also a part of a much larger universe. If you've seen the last Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, you know the multiverse has officially opened. And there's all kinds of opportunities for villains to meet up, thrive, and maybe even nurture their more sinister intents. That's all I'm gonna say for right now.
That's just Sony saying, oh, we're gonna be doing a big Sinister Six spin-off film in the future. Not just spin-offs with individual characters like the Kraven movie, but like an actual spin-off team-up Sinister Six film, legit Sinister Six, because there was only 5 of them during Spider-Man No Way Home. And I tweeted this yesterday, is actually Michael Keaton saying that he's actually doing some new Vulture work. That's why he says new Toomes work. It's the Vulture Adrian Toomes in the last couple of days, literally. And because the Morbius movie still isn't coming out to the end of the month, I think he's talking about doing some pickups for Morbius, maybe just some voiceover pickups. But he could always be doing some Vulture for some other upcoming Spider-Man or Marvel-related movie. Just like with the Venom movies, I believe Sony's plan for the Morbius character long term is that they'll do direct sequels if the movie does well enough, but they're also going to do a bunch of crossovers with him, the same way that they're going to try and cross over Venom with Spider-Man. That's why in the Spider-Man No Way Home post-credit scene, when Venom came back to his original universe, they left part of the symbiote behind so that they could do a symbiote saga in the MCU. And for all you Lost Boys movie fans, they actually make a big Lost Boys reference during the trailer too. Bit of a joke. Story of my life. The Lost Boys is a vampire movie about this older vampire taking advantage of younger kids, turning them into vampires. The main characters have to decide whether or not to be good, whether to embrace these vampire powers, become vampires themselves. It's meant to be a parallel for the moral argument that Morbius is having, whether or not he's going to use his powers for bad, for good. It's the same thing with Venom in the first Venom movie. We're only going to eat bad people. Morbius will probably end the movie deciding that he's only going to drink the blood and kill bad people. And because it seems like Kevin Feige is working up to a darker MCU team-up, like you have the Avengers, which are like a bunch of A-list characters coming together in the movies, it sounds like Kevin Feige's doing the same thing with the Defenders, but with darker characters on street level. With like Moon Knight, you have Blade. We know that Kit Harington's Black Knight is going to be in the Blade movie, like Black Knight Vampire Hunter. If we do see more Easter eggs in the next couple MCU films, or even during the Morbius film, about some kind of darker Hearts of Darkness or Midnight Suns team up, I'll be sure to include those in the videos that I do. If you have any questions about what's going on with all the characters, just write them below in the comments and I'll add them to my list of bonus videos. I've got a couple other Marvel videos that I'm working on this week, so I'll name a Blu-ray giveaway winner in one of my next videos, but I'll keep doing the giveaway for the rest of the month till Moon Knight comes out. Also really hoping for a Blade or a Black Knight cameo scene or reference during the Moon Knight episodes as well. While you wait for everything, click here for that other Morbius trailer video with all the different footage, a little bit more footage of Matt Smith using his powers too. And click here for that brand new Spider-Man No Way Home deleted scenes video with more Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Matt Murdock Daredevil footage. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.